Hello, everyone. Ollie, are we ready? And is
Yes,
Professor
over to you, Dr. Coughlin and
okay.
Dr. Mplanga. Yeah.
Great. And yep. So thank you everyone for joining us. It's amazing to have so many people here. And this is an introduction to the Tertiary Educator program, which is one of the two strands that we're running. And as I said, I'm delighted that you can join us.
Hello, can you show the video?
So let's move on. The purpose of this session really is to introduce ourselves, so the team behind the course, and also you are very welcome to use the text chat to introduce yourselves and say where you are from, and a little bit about your teaching and your interest in the course. We will introduce the themes that were covered in the program. So the bulk of this session will be an introduction to each of the themes that are covered in the course materials and in the additional community events. We'll also introduce some of the platforms and activities that will be going on as we continue. So firstly, we shall introduce ourselves. As Ollie has said, I'm Dr. Tim Coughlin. I am a lecturer in educational technology. I work at the Institute of Educational Technology of the Open University. So Ephraim, are you ready too?
Thank you. My name is Ephraim Mplanga. I work for the South African Institute for Distance Education, but I do a lot of work also for the African Council for Distance Education. And my main area of activity is quality assurance in higher education. So we basically work in the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. Thank you.
And Nashwa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, welcome all. My name is Dr. Nashwa Smail. I'm a researcher in the Institute of Educational Technologies, Open Universities, UK.
And Ollie, I don't think you introduced yourself, so maybe do that now.
That's true. Thank you. I'm Olivier Biard. I'm the Senior Program Manager for various education programs in the Open University UK's International Development Office. We work with a lot of partnerships, CDE and other universities and the TESA network, and I'm very happy to be here with you today. Thank you.
Okay, so I'd just like to say a little bit about the Open University and the place where I work, IET. The Open University in the UK is the largest university, has the most students of any university in the United Kingdom. And it pioneered distance learning since 1969. So the university was created back then to provide opportunities for people to learn at a distance, where it was recognized that that was really a good thing to do. Initially, a lot of our teaching relied on books and things like that, but we started with online courses very early. So it was actually 20 years ago now that we launched our first fully online course. And the Institute of Educational Technology was a key player in producing that. Our role really is to provide teaching and expertise in technology-enhanced learning for the Open University, and of course going beyond that in programs such as this one today. We conduct a lot of research around online learning, and we're linked in with people all over the world about best practices in online learning. So just to say that there is a wider team that I'd like to thank who will be contributing to this particular program, and some of my colleagues are on the screen here. And you'll be meeting some of them in different activities and perhaps online as the course goes on. I'd like to say a little bit about the mission of the Open University and the history of it. So our mission is to be open to people, places, methods, and ideas. So the idea is that we really are welcoming to everybody who wants to learn. And we find that distance and online learning is a really good way to do that. We are open to places, so we're really happy to work with you wherever you are. And we're very keen to explore new methods and ideas, including learning from you as much as we learn, as we can teach. So opportunity and social justice, providing high quality university education, and our pedagogic innovations and collaborative partnerships are a key way that we do that. So as I said, in the early days before the internet, the Open University's teaching really focused on books, originally radio programs and later television programs. Lectures were delivered through the BBC on BBC television. As time went on, of course, this changed. And as I said, about 20 years ago, we started delivering our courses completely online. We still have some books, we still have some events. Of course, with the current situation, face-to-face events do not happen. But primarily our teaching is now done online. We're also, as I said, very open to working internationally, and we have a social mission, which means that we provide a certain amount of learning for free to anybody who wants it. So the OpenLearn site and the sister OpenLearn Create site are part of that. So the materials that you'll be learning are part of a program of providing these materials and courses out to everybody who wants to learn. In the case of this program, we'll be supplementing those free materials with a large number of community activities, and of course providing a certificate of participation as well alongside that. And Ephraim, if you could introduce ACD first.
Yes, so the African Council for Distance Education is a very important continental body that tries to coordinate the offering of distance education on the continent. We're mostly interested in enhancing access to higher education in Africa, and we believe distance education is one of the best ways of doing that. And so we try to coordinate the activities of distance education providers on the continent, but also to link them up with other important international organizations in the area of distance education. And these include the ICDE, the International Council for Distance Education, UNESCO, the Commonwealth of Learning, and the Open University of UK, as you can witness now. And we do this in order to try and benchmark the performance of African institutions in their distance education offerings. One of the most important aspects we are interested in so far as distance education is concerned, is the quality of provision and the quality of graduates that come out of those systems. And the African Council for Distance Education is committed to enhancing that kind of quality. And we build a lot of capacity and a lot of collaboration amongst our partner institutions on the continent. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And we're really happy to be working with ACDE. And I think they've played such an important role in bringing everyone together for this program. And obviously, we'll be working together. Okay. So I'd like to move on to the situation and the reasons that this course has come together. So the background to this, of course, is that education is changing and responding to some difficult times around the world. Some of us will have been doing online learning or distance learning for a long time. For other people, this will be new to them. And it's really important to understand where we go from here in both the short term and the long term. We're really excited to support you to learn more about online teaching and learning. We're also really excited to understand what your teaching is like and get you to consider how we can work together in the future. So teaching online is different. I think that's the key message of the course. There is obviously a lot of skill in being a teacher or working in a university and managing teaching and learning. But there are a lot of things to learn about how to do this online. So we will help you to understand how to make the most of the opportunities and to overcome the key challenges. So one of the things we'd like to do is get to know each other a little bit more already during this event. There's a little poll now, and I think, Rachel, if you could launch the poll. Okay, if everyone would like to answer these simple questions, then we'll share the results. Okay, I think let's leave it there, Rachel. I think we've got most people have managed to vote. Sorry if you haven't managed to vote. And you should now be able to see the results. So of all the people on the call, 255 of you are on a laptop and 114 of you are on a phone. One thing to really recognize, learning online looks different on a phone. I'm sure those of you on a phone are having a different experience to the laptop. But equally, having the ability to join through your phone is an amazing thing. So yeah, our top two, laptops and on the phone, and most people are at home. So you know, you guys are joining in with work, but you're doing it at home. So that's really interesting for us to do. And we'll do a few more polls as we go along, just to gather some interesting understanding of who's involved in the course. Okay, I'll stop the sharing and we can move on. Right, so the program that we have, this is the introduction webinar, and there will also be one of these, a similar event at the end where we'll reflect on things, how they've gone, and that'll be more discussion. This is really, you know, an introduction where I'm explaining the course. The core of the material is what we call a badged open course called Take Your Teaching Online, and this was developed as an introduction to some important concepts and themes and tools for teaching online. We have community events throughout the program. So each week there's an event, or there may be a couple of events, and we're using a range of platforms and processes for that. So the idea is really to introduce a variety of the tools that we use to teach and processes that we use to think about teaching, but in this case apply them to your professional development. The website at the moment doesn't have all the information on it, and we are working to update that. So come back and check every week, at least once a week, because we'll be adding more information about all the events and the dates and times. So I'm going to talk a bit more about Take Your Teaching Online, which is a course that we've provided. It's aimed at educators at any level. It introduces key concepts and tools for online learning. It's the core material for this program. And overall, it should take around 24 hours of study. So this is the readings, videos, and activities combined into that program. So the course as it is designed is split into 8 weeks. And it's important to note that in the course we're running with you, we may ask you to do 2 of those weeks in some of the weeks. In fact, I think next week you might be doing 2 and 3, for example. That's because each of these weeks is only really 3 hours. It's not too much, hopefully, to ask, but you could sometimes do 2 of those weeks. There are quizzes built into every week of Take Your Teaching Online. There's at week 4 and week 8, which are compulsory. So the way that this works, the other quizzes are kind of practice quizzes in weeks 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. The quizzes in weeks 4 and 8, you should pass those in order to get the badge. So that's the structure that we use for our badged open courses. And I'll go through some of the themes, most of which are in that Take Your Teaching Online program, and the ones that aren't are part of the events that we'll do alongside it. So as I said, teaching online is different. And as you begin the study of of the badged open course, Take Your Teaching Online, it will really start to explain how these differences can be thought about. So we go through the ideas of synchronous and asynchronous modes of teaching and ways of delivering teaching, either live events like this one, or in a way that allows people to do it over a time period and is flexible to what they want. We'll talk about how self-study is combined with engagement with others. We'll talk about how learning happens through a variety of platforms and channels, and that's quite normal. So, you know, for example, today I know there's chat going on, there's WhatsApp, and then there's this event, and then there's a website. There's a lot of different platforms and channels to think about. We'll also think about how learning online is different from the learner's experience. So there's really important points around how we structure learning in order to create the motivation and maintain that, get people through the courses. It does require different things from the teacher and the learner. And obviously, for some of you who are more used to face-to-face teaching and maybe thinking about how to combine this with face-to-face and online teaching, we'll talk about blended learning, flipped classrooms, and these ideas of how you can mix online and face-to-face. So time for another poll. And Rachel, can you bring up the next one? So we're really interested here in your own experiences of online learning as you join us on this course. Okay, it seems to be slowing down. It's slowing down now, so Rachel, I guess we can draw it to a close. Okay, and now you should be able to see the poll results there. And it's quite interesting, perhaps not a surprise. Most people study for a degree with face-to-face teaching, and the proportions of you that have studied online or through distance learning are lower. But actually quite a lot of people have studied a free course online, so you've got some experience there. And a lot of you use the internet to study informally. And that's, yeah, that's an interesting spread. It's interesting to think of our own experiences of online study when we're trying to do this with our students. So yeah, I think if we can stop sharing that, we'll carry on. Okay, so the second theme of the program really is choosing technologies for learning. And we will try to give you some understanding and knowledge about a variety of tools, but also how we use those tools to enhance learning. So we need to think about different things when we're doing this. We need to have some concepts and theories through which we understand learning. We need to have the knowledge of a range of technologies that we can use. We need some skills if we're going to use those technologies in online or in the classroom, of course. We need to think about the design of the activity so that that combines pedagogy and technology. And we need to think about quality assurance and evaluation. But obviously a starting point for that is actually understanding some of the tools that are out there. And I'd like to introduce you to one of the series of reports that are produced by IET each year. And we call these Innovating Pedagogy Reports. And they're quite short and readable. You can access them on our website from the address here, and we'll put that on the slides that we share as well. And really, what I'd like to say about these reports is that, if I get this to start again. Yeah, so what I'd like to say about these reports is that they're really about the idea of combining innovation and pedagogy and technology. So the point is not to just pick up a new technology and try and use it because it's new and it's exciting, but thinking about what concepts and designs for learning activities actually utilize technology well. And when we pick the content for our Innovating Pedagogy report each year, we're really often looking at things that are interesting from a pedagogical point of view, not things that are just built using the latest technology. So sometimes innovation is driven by technology, and of course online learning needs technology, but the technology on its own is not sufficient to improve learning. You need pedagogical innovation that goes alongside it. So time for our next poll, and in this poll I've picked 10 of the themes that we had in our Innovating Pedagogy reports in recent years. And Rachel, if you could launch the poll. I'm interested in which one of these you think you would like to learn more about. So you can pick multiple ones, but which of these topics are of interest to you? They're all kind of new, innovative ideas in teaching and learning. Okay, it's slowing down now. So yeah, Rachel, if you're happy to just end the poll there and share the results. And thanks, Rachel. Rachel's doing a really good job behind the scenes of making this happen, and it's not always simple. Okay, so our results here are interesting. So we have a clear winner, which is massive open online courses, MOOCs. 76% of people are interested in learning about MOOCs. And you know, that's been a big topic for IET in recent years, and had colleagues do the PhDs around MOOCs. We've ran a lot of MOOCs. We've got a lot of data from MOOCs, so that's good. Inquiry learning is the next one, and we've had some projects around developing toolkits for doing inquiry learning online. Personally, I have an interest in open data and how that can be used with inquiry learning. Next one, dynamic assessment. Of course, everyone's interested in assessment, and dynamic assessment's really interesting in terms of trying to adapt it to the learners and what they need to know. So yeah, really interesting there. Learning analytics, another one that's popular. Storytelling. So we will introduce all of these topics, I hope, through this course. You will have an introduction to them, but you can also read those Innovating Pedagogy reports. As I say, they're all available online. They're pretty short. You can just pick the ones that are of interest to you. It's kind of a page about each one, or a couple of pages and some resources to take you further. So thanks again, Rachel, for running the poll for me. Okay. So another theme that runs really later on in the course, but I think it's important to start thinking about it from the beginning, is how we make changes to teaching and how we evaluate. So at the moment, a lot of us are making changes to our teaching, or having to cope with change and respond to it. And really, there are a lot of processes through which we can make sure that happens in the best way it can. So we can make plans about how we change and improve our teaching, how we introduce online teaching, and how we evaluate quality and respond and make things better. And at this point, if you'd like to come in, you have a few slides to talk about quality.
Yes, Tim, I was seeing your screen slides, but now I don't see them anymore.
Okay, I have them up, but I can share them again. Sorry, I think the sharing might have stopped there.
I don't know what's happening with my screen.
No, I think by the time that you started sharing the link, you stopped sharing your screen. So like 2 slides before. So if you just
that could be the reason.
Please be sharing.
I will sort that out in a second.
Where is the tissue?
And yeah, just give me a second to restart the sharing. It's
okay.
Just stopped with the sharing there, but just a second. And okay, yeah,
I can see it. I can see them now. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
So Thanks, Tim. And so there are 2 or 3 slides to share with you this afternoon regarding the quality of online learning, which is a big thing. I think from my personal experience, COVID-19 sent many institutions into panic mode, especially in Southern Africa. And people didn't just know what to do with students who were off campus for so many months. They had an academic program to complete. Suddenly they realized that online learning seems to be the only way out. And they were required to look for resources to put their courses online and to communicate with students. Something that was new to a lot of academic staff as well as to some students. And whilst it was a positive development in terms of saving the academic year, I think what we saw was largely some kind of watered down curriculum that was put online. And the learning that happened on the part of students was also very kind of superficial, and the kind of support that was given to students by universities, I think, was compromised. But most importantly, we also see that the assessment quality was also highly compromised. And so this seems to give room for people who have already been skeptical about online learning to criticize institutions that try to deploy higher education programs online. They argue that what you are producing is really not good enough. Your products, your students, your graduates are half-baked if you use the online mode of learning. Can you go on to the next slide?
Yep.
So
okay.
I think the onus then lies with us academics, with us institutions, to convince the public that actually we can deliver high quality learning online. It's just a delivery mode of delivery. And so there are key questions to me that we need to ask ourselves in that race. And these questions include the key elements of online teaching and learning that should be quality assured. We need to think about that, and we need to think about that upfront, not as an afterthought of implementing online learning. What quality assurance approaches should we use, right? There's a whole range of quality assurance approaches that are used in universities in particular. Some of them just serve the accountability purpose. But here, we want to settle for quality assurance approaches that will enhance deep learning by our students. How do we know that the approaches we use in quality assuring online learning actually work? So we need to be constantly collecting data that shows that, in fact, our approaches are working. The next one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So basically what I'm talking about here is designing very explicit quality assurance practices for our online learning. And those quality assurance practices are not only meant to help us improve the quality of learning, they are in fact also a way of proving to the public out there that what we are still doing online is of good quality. And this therefore implies a shift from the implicit ways of quality assurance in our institutions to more explicit ways, more explicit practices that people can be able to see. And so we will have a session during the course of this course where we will look at all these quality and quality assurance aspects regarding online learning. I don't think I will bring answers to that session, but I think I will bring problems that we can be able to deliberate on together, and then out of that, we can be able to distill best practice in terms of quality assuring online learning. Thanks very much.
Thank you for that, Ephraim. And I think that links in very well, particularly the idea of being more explicit about what we're doing in our teaching. So the next topic that I'd like to mention is learning design. Often people will think about instructional design as a part of what we need to do and what we need to improve in teaching. In the Open University, we use learning design as a term that covers this and some more things. So really, learning design is integrated into our teaching and evaluation. And I think that's partly because we do everything online and at a distance. Partly we have a greater need to ensure the quality of our teaching materials, because the students will often be studying them with less support. And partly we also have to understand our learners and make sure that they are getting what they need. So we will have sessions on learning design and also the idea of tricky topics, which goes within this. So this is similar to threshold concepts, which were one of our innovating pedagogy ideas. We're thinking about how we understand things that is essential for the students to know, so the learning outcomes and the key concepts that they need to understand in their courses, and understanding those barriers and thinking about how we get through them. Parts of learning design include creating a balance of activity types. So we will look at different types of learning activities, assimilative learning, communication, group work, all these different things, and look at the balance of them, and particularly the student workload that produces. So there's a lot of techniques that we use to ensure that the design of our courses is really suitable for our students to study them online. The next topic that I'd like to cover is networks and communities. So I think it's really important as professionals in education that we make use of online tools to connect with each other. We can benefit a huge amount from sharing practices and ideas and also resources. But we also become better at teaching online by engaging in our own personal development and professional development. So we are learning online, and then we understand how to do that. We can help our students better. And at this point, Nashwa is going to say a little bit about how we're going to manage a community inside of this program.
Yes, thanks, Tim, and welcome again. And I'm really pleased to be with you during these weeks. While I would like to highlight that during your study, that we are going to be together for a good few weeks in July and August, and you are going to have every week a new topic, and you have different ideas and activities and webinars, but you're not going to be left behind in between. We are going together, we are going to create a community of activities. We are going to use technology in this, so it's going to be us and the technology. By using groups via the WhatsApp, we are going to have like our rooms. In these rooms, we are going to have the opportunity to discuss together if we have like a topic that you'd like to discuss further. If there are like Q&As, questions and answer that maybe came to your mind after the session. So if you have like a question you'd like to be answered, it could be answered by myself, or get back to the tutors that to get an extra answer about it. Also, we have in these groups, we can have a topic to discuss or share resources as well. Maybe that you would like to have more details about a resource. So also in these groups, that is where this is the kind of support or co-support for the facilitation across the study. That will enable for you that to reflect on your study and achieve your learning objectives by the end of the course. Of course, there are other things like our journey website, where I think Tim is going to highlight in the next few slides as well to reflect on it. But what I would like to highlight, that you are not going to be like left behind between the sessions. There is a parallel support, will support your learning with the main webinars to using the technology. Mainly we'll have a WhatsApp group that to support your work, and also it will enable the discussions between you as peer-to-peer learning. That is the kind of community we are going to create across the program. Thank you, and handing over to you, Tim, again.
Thank you, Nashwa. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight a couple more platforms and things that we will be using. So we will launch a mission on our Enquire platform. And this is a platform that we've designed for peer learning and citizen science. And we'd like you to have a go at it and to have a mission that will be relevant to you. So we're going to try and gather and get you to share information about how teaching is changing across Africa at the moment. So that will happen in a few weeks' time, and I really hope you'll join in with that. The next topic that the course will really cover is finding and sharing educational materials. So there is a huge amount on the internet, and we really shouldn't be reinventing the wheel if we can draw on quality resources and adapt them to our needs. So making high quality materials takes a lot of time, expertise and effort. I'm sure everyone involved in education understands that. Obviously, when you're teaching in lectures, it's quite different to having your students at home learning through online materials. But also, I mean, high costs of materials are a barrier. If we have textbooks and things like that, that can be a real barrier for students. And of course, creating materials is a barrier for institutions. So reusing the materials that we have created make a lot of sense. But what is recognized within that is that in different contexts, with different learners, you need different materials in a sense. So you need to be able to adapt those materials for our needs. We'll talk about open educational resources, which provides a framework for really having materials that you can use in your teaching, but also adapt to your needs. And I'm hoping we will have a session in which you can look further at that, but there's also material in the course which explains it all. So we now have our last poll, which hopefully Rachel can launch. And we're just interested in what kind of use of learning materials you've already done. Let's see the results of this poll. Be interesting. Okay, I'm just seeing if we can get to 500 votes. That would be really nice. Come on, 3 more people need to vote, and then we'll get to 500 votes. Oh. Yes, we've done it. 500 votes. Great. Okay, Rachel, I think you can close the poll there. All right, so you should be able to see the results there. I think it's very natural. Most of us use textbooks written by other authors, and 88% of you on the call have said that's what we do. It's the normal way of doing things, you know. But the thing is, obviously, there's costs attached to that, and it can be very difficult. And also with online learning, you know, are those ebooks, are they accessible to students? Would we be better off providing materials through our virtual learning environment? So there's a lot of questions around textbooks. It's really interesting to see that the majority have suggested online resources for your students to use. So I'm sure when we get a chance for discussion, there'll be plenty of thoughts about how you find good resources for your students, share, and what you think in terms of what makes high quality materials, or what's a useful thing to get your students to look at, I suppose, as an extra to their standard learning materials. And most of you are using media, images, video, and audio from online sources. And just over half of you have used open educational resources, OER. So I think that's really nice. But hopefully it's still a useful theme to explore with us. Okay, Rachel, I think that's good. Okay, so we're kind of into the home stretch now, but one of the other themes that is a really important thing, I think, to cover in this course, it's a personal interest of mine in my research and teaching, is accessibility and how we support diverse learners. I think it's really important to recognize with online learning that thinking about how different people can access it should be a core concept. Ultimately, our learners, for whatever reason, have quite diverse situations that they're joining in from. There are a lot of assistive technologies that can remove barriers as long as the learning materials are provided in the right way. But also, when we're thinking about accessibility, we think about other things like limited internet access, older computing technology, the language that we use, and how that affects our learners. So we've been exploring this a lot over the years in the Open University because we've always aimed to be open to everyone who wants to join us. So this is another theme that comes out in the course.
But have resources to be able to sort of step in and help them too.
And the next theme, in fact, the final theme that I'll cover is assessment. So I know for many people, assessment is an absolutely essential part of their teaching and their thinking on how they move online. That's one of their concerns. So I know people are used to doing exams, and those are still a part of what we do at the Open University, but actually they're a much smaller part of what we do. We do most of our assessment online through a variety of assignments and activities. So we also have expertise in this area, and one of the topics that will be covered within that as well is feedback and how we give students feedback to help them learn from their assessments. And we'll talk about the practices in assessment that really work well with online learning. And we're reaching the end of the presentation. I'd just like to point you to a platform that we've created, which is actually about representing your study journeys. So we created this to help our students, again, when they're at distance, particularly from us, you can't necessarily see what's happening. And it's also a useful tool for ourselves to reflect on how our study journeys have gone. So we use this increasingly as a way for students to benefit because they capture a record of what's happened, but also for us to understand how the study is going and the experience of it. So there's a link to our journey in the website. It's also on the screen here. And I'll try to do a very quick demonstration of our journey and how it works. So this is our journey. It's a very simple interface. You don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but hopefully if you keep coming back to it over the course of the program, you'll have something more to say. And we'll also try to build a group around this and get people thinking about the different events and how they thought about them. So our journey is very simple. You talk about what happened. So in this case, let's say we attended the webinar today. And, you know, I don't know how you felt about it, but I'm fairly optimistic that the course is going to go well. And I'm enjoying it. And, you know, it's great working with all of you. So I can say a little bit about that. And I can add a date in here. And then when I've done this, it just adds a card into my journey. So I've already added a few things in here. So over time, these cards build up as a nice record of all the important events that happened and how it felt. So it helps you with reflection, and it helps us to understand how the course is going. So I just wanted to show you that, and hope that you sign up and register, and we'll send you some more details about how you can interact through our journey. And that's really it for the presentation from me. I haven't been able to look at the chat, I'll be honest, the others have been. But please post questions and thoughts in the chat now. We will try to answer a few. I'm not sure how much of that we'll get through, but what we will do, if you do post a question, is we'll make sure we answer it and we share a document with the answers to all the questions on it. So the other point I'd like to make finally is, again, keep checking the website. We'll be updating that soon with a lot more details about the community event. And I really, really hope you enjoy this program. I'm really excited to work with you all. Thank you. Okay, Ollie, are we?
Yeah, thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
I think there was a question about whether the Our Journey platform is similar to a portfolio. Do you want to elaborate on that, perhaps?
It is similar. It's a bit simpler and a bit more fun, and it's about something that can be shared. And it really, what we were trying to do was take the idea of representing your journey, but kind of simplify it down. So yeah, people will create, you can create cards that have hyperlinks in them if you'd like to say more, or link it to something else online, like a blog post or anything, any resource that's related to it. So it could act like a portfolio, it could act like a journal, but really the idea is to keep it down to what's happened, how do you feel about it, and a short description, and then build these kind of ongoing journey that really represents what's happened to you, and then hopefully share it with others.
Yeah. And so I guess that's all around being a reflective practitioner, isn't it? About encouraging students to reflect on their experience, not just do the work, but think about how they are approaching the work and experiencing the work and the learning and the ideas and the thinking around it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, in this context, you might think about particular skills that you want to develop. So it's about challenges and achievements, how you think about your goals, where you're trying to get to. So you might start it off by saying, well, why did I feel the need to understand more about online learning? That might be because you have a particular challenge at your work. But it can become, a bit more than that, just something you can return to after a while and say, oh yeah, I remember that. You go back and think about where you developed some skills and things like that.
Great. And there's a few questions about the structure of the program. So I wonder if it would be helpful if I just gave a quick overview. This is the Tertiary Educator program. As many of you will know, there's also the parallel Teacher Educator program, and that's just because supporting teachers in their current demands and pressures, with schools being closed and things, is a bit different than supporting university lecturers who are moving their student-facing teaching and learning online. So we thought it'd be good to differentiate the two groups and focus on each need. So on this program, on the Tertiary Educator program that you are all here on today, the core learning, the core activities that everyone must complete together to achieve the free certificate at the end is around this first webinar, which is the introductory webinar, an overview webinar. And thank you, Tim and Ephraim, for the wonderful presentation. And so there's this webinar as the first core activity. It is followed by the online course learning, which Tim took us through earlier. And there will be one more webinar at the end in which we will come back together to reflect on everyone's experiences and hear from you about how you felt it's been. And then on the website, there are what's called community activities. Now, all the community activities are value-added activities. If you can't engage with them, if you miss one, that's okay. But we strongly encourage everyone to engage in as many as you can. Part of the idea around these activities is to add value to your experience as learners, but it's also to demonstrate how you as educators, how all of us as educators can think about providing rich learning experiences online. So we are using the opportunity to expose you to various online tools that you can use now as part of this program for your own benefit. But I think the biggest benefit will also be how you as educators might think about then using these tools. Most of the tools, in fact, all of the tools that we will use during this program are free, open online tools, which means you can then use them in your institution, you can use them as a lecturer, as an educator with your own students in turn. So if there's a specific tool that you like, if you like the Our Journey tool, then it's something you can choose as educators to use in your own programs going forward. So we encourage you to, think outside the box, engage with these supplementary community activities to enrich your own experience now, but also to open up your, experience to new platforms and approaches that you can then in turn use yourself if you find that they're useful. So I hope that answers the question that's been asked by a few people about the structure of the program. And yeah, any questions that we have not answered here and now, we will deal with them. We will post a questions and answer document if there's any key questions that have not been dealt with.
Yeah, I was just on the chat. So there's a recording, and that will be posted on the website, won't it?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Tim. So the recording, when this session is finished, we will check the recording to make sure it's good quality. We will post it online, and the website will have the link to where that can then be downloaded and accessed. So please do. Now, there was a question about the Teacher Educator program and why it was done at the same time. Well, it's being done during the same 6-week period, but we have tried to make sure that we don't schedule the webinars at exactly the same time. So today we are having this webinar, which is the Tertiary Educator Introduction webinar. On Wednesday, we will have the Teacher Educator Introductory webinar number 1. And we've tried to do them at slightly different times, different days, so that some of the participants who've chosen to engage with both programs can do so. So we will try never to have webinars exactly at the same time in parallel, so that if you're enrolled on both, you can engage with both. But as we've also highlighted, both programs require a lot of commitment. You are all very busy people, so only enroll on both if you really feel that you have the time. We don't want you to be, learning is much better enjoyed when you are not stressed, when you're not trying to get up at 5 in the morning to study because you have to catch up. So only engage with both programs if you honestly feel that you have the time at the moment to engage with both. We want your journey to be enjoyable, not stressed. So thank you so much for that. Any other questions?
Hello?
Yes, hello?
Yes, thank you. I just want to mention the fact that as the discussion continues, there may be some questions placed on the chat that need to be answered immediately. They may not be many. The questions may not be many, but some of these questions are better answered immediately. They may be few. If you look at the chat box, the chat box, you will find some of these questions there. Is it possible to answer some of those questions? Few questions.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to try. I can see one there where somebody's asking if they can still enroll. That I don't have the answer to that. So if somebody else wanted to enroll now, I don't know. Are we still accepting enrollments? Actually, I'm not sure.
Professor Ogedal, would you like to answer that question? When have registrations cut off, the enrollments cut off, or what is your view on that?
Registration, in fact, as the training goes on now, there are about 5 people that have requested that they should be enrolled, but I told them that training was going on. So it all depends on the implication of enrolling them when they were unable to take part in the first training. If it will not make much difference, then we can continue to enroll them for the next probably 2 days for tertiary educator.
Yeah.
Is it okay?
I think that's fair.
I think that's fine. I think the key thing is that they have to complete week 1 of the online self-directed study by the end of this week. So I think, yes, 2 more days will still give people the chance to catch up. And this video, so those who have missed this introductory webinar, it will be provided online so they can still catch up. It's only about 1 hour and 20 minutes or so. So I think that's still possible if in the next couple of days people enroll, that people can take that time to catch up.
Okay, that is beautiful, because I can see from record here that we have close to 565 participants.
We do.
Which is massive enough, but there are still many that are very eager. They don't want to stay idle. They want to continue to update themselves, update their skills, interact with colleagues, interact with professionals, and which I very much like. So I suggest that we continue to register them and get them enrolled for the next few days.
Absolutely, that's fine. So please contact Professor Oguidon and the ACDE Secretariat if you still wish to enroll, and please encourage colleagues so that nobody misses out. There's a question here on the chat that is being asked, that is, what are the tasks we are expected to perform today? Well, like I explained, today's webinar was an introductory overview. So Dr. Coughlin and Dr. Mhlanga have provided us an overview, of the program that we will engage in during the next 6 weeks. A lot of it is centered around the core readings, the core online e-learning, which the link is provided in the schedule. But every week there is both core activities and supplementary activities. So I think the key outcome of today's webinar session was the feedback that everyone gave through the various polls that Tim presented. And that's helped us all get to know each other better, get to know what experiences we have in common, but also what we're all looking to learn through this time together. And then it's also gaining an overview of the program so that you can engage well and you can work through it at your pace, but also keep up with the schedule as best as possible. So I think that's the key task for today, is to making sure that you're ready, that you know where to get your information, that you know how to engage with the webinars, but also the e-learning online. And if you have any questions, please do get in touch. And yes, Professor Oguidon, any questions that we have not answered now together during the live session, we will try to answer them in a document that we will attach along with the video. We will put a sort of a Q&A document where any questions that we have not dealt with now, we will put it on there and we will answer those questions specifically as well. So I think, Professor Oguidon, is there any other burning questions that you can notice from the chat that you feel we should deal with now before closing?
Well, except that there are some members that couldn't come in.
Yes.
They couldn't come in into the virtual room. I wouldn't know why it was difficult. I think, if possible, probably if you can allow about 15 minutes before the webinar starts, so that members will be able to trickle in gradually and be able to join the training room.
Thank you, Professor. So as we've mentioned on the website, the webinar rooms open 15 minutes before the start time. Oh. In fact, today we opened them half an hour before the start time, just to give plenty of leeway. In fact, we had about 300 participants who were already in the waiting room when this session started, and we took about 10 more minutes to allow people to trickle in. So that's a very good suggestion, Professor Oguidon, and hopefully we can continue to make this a good experience for all of our participants. We know that it's challenging to be engaging with new technology, so we hope that we are taking it slow enough and providing enough technical assistance. But I think it's important to realize that engaging with the technology is also part of the learning. This is all new for many of us.
Yeah.
And taking the time and the patience to figure out how to enroll, how to register, how to engage with the technology is also a key part of developing our own ICT skills, confidence, and and abilities. So thank you very much for your patience with yourselves, with each other, and with the whole system of online learning.
Yeah, that's good.
And just noting that a couple of questions. One was, when is the kickoff for the tertiary the teacher education program, which I believe is Wednesday.
Yes.
And the other one was, when is the next session for this program? And we will have a session on the 21st of July, so next week. But for now, as Ollie has said, it's about the self-study, and if you'd like to engage with the Our Journey platform and take the Teaching Online course, we will be in touch with more instructions. But yes, next week there will be an event on the 21st of July.
Yeah, and once again, for those, some people say they've had some sound issues, so I'm sorry that you've had some problems. We will post the video of the session on the website so that you can catch up, you can engage again, yeah, so hopefully that will be helpful.
And in addition to that, I want to encourage the participants to try and read up the notes on the website as a kind of follow-up, so that what we have gone through today will be a kind of preparatory activity to what we'll be able to read on the website.
Yeah.
Can you put the link of the website that you keep on referring to?
It's the one that you enrolled on to get the link to the Zoom meeting. So the Pathways website. Let me.
But if you can put it here.
Yeah. Okay.
As well.
Let me. I'm wondering if I should share my screen just very briefly.
Okay. I would also like to find out if we can get a presentation, the PowerPoint presentation.
No, that one has been explained, that you'll be able to get the presentation on the website link.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So the presentation and the video will be posted on this website. So let me just show the website real quick. This is the link that has been shared in the emails and the WhatsApp groups from ACDE. It brings you to this Pathways for Learning website, which is the program we are on together. It's a program that is sponsored and co-delivered by ACDE, the Open University UK, the Institute of Educational Technology, and the Teacher Education in Sub-Saharan Africa program. At the bottom, you'll see all the team members who are involved, and you will find the two different courses, two different programs here. So the Teacher Educator program and the Tertiary Educator program. Today, this session has been for those who have enrolled on the Tertiary Educator program. So you click on this link to access the study schedule. And once you're on the study schedule, you'll find that there is an overview of the program. And here you will find our presenters from today, Dr. Coughlin and Dr. Mhlanga, as well as a little bit of what is expected. And then you can go to course content, which is where you will find the actual study schedule itself. So we are now in week 1, the week of the 13th of July, that has started today. When you click on this arrow, you will see the activities. This explains what needs to be done. And this is our first activity for today. It's to attend webinar 1. That's what we are just now completing together. When you have finished attending the webinar, please tick this box, and you will see that at the top, it will record your progress. So I've ticked the box now. It shows that I'm 13% completed the activities that are required, because I've now ticked this box. So this is where the Zoom link is to join today's session. There is a guide on how to join a Zoom webinar. The next activity is to study the online course. So study Take Your Teaching Online week 1, which is what Dr. Coughlin showed earlier. Here's the link to get to the course. You need to enroll on the course to study it, and please complete week 1 this week and mark this as complete when done. So when you're finished studying week 1, you come back here and you tick this box to show that you've completed it. Then these are the optional activities, the community activities I was mentioning earlier. Local study groups and facilitation by WhatsApp. So we will be working with ACDE to organize local WhatsApp groups for all of you enrolled on this program. So you will be getting more information about that subsequently. And there's also Our Journey. There's a link here to Our Journey, which is what Dr. Coughlin showed us earlier. So here you can get the link to our journey if you want to use that journaling tool or that study diary tool. So these are the activities for this week. We're trying to not overload it because we know everyone here are professionals. You're busy people. This is not full-time study. It's, you know, extra time study. So we are keeping each week manageable, but these are, you know, core activities that will help you to gain the most from the program. So I hope that has been helpful. This is where you can get the information. Please check it regularly. We will constantly be adding new information to the program as we go along. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Just a couple more.
Thank you.
From the chat.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Yes.
I think that might be it in terms of questions. Is that right? Shall we close here, Professor Ogida?
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
There's a suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Some of the damages that have already been done to the education industry as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and sudden closure of our schools around the globe. Today, the opportunity is here before us to take our teaching and learning online. I want to assure you that participation here is indeed massive because it has attracted participants from different countries in Africa and beyond. There are even participants from as far as even a place like a country like Canada. Many vice chancellors, emeritus professors, and administrators in the education industry have participated in this training. What we shall enjoy in this training is wealth of experience of a team of experts and best brains from the foremost university in United Kingdom and also foremost education organization, which is the lead organization for the African Union on issues that concerns open and distance learning. I therefore thank the Open University of United Kingdom, TESA, IET, through Olivia, Rachel, and the team with others who have been working 24/7 to make this possible. I commend the facilitator, my namesake team. You know, my name is Rotimi, so team. I thank you indeed. I thank Dr. Mlanga for this webinar on tertiary educator. With this opportunity, we will now know what online teaching and learning means, particularly the key in the area of the key role of instructional design, and therefore be able to take note of the quality and of how the online education material should look like, and also consider how to bring in evaluation using the state-of-the-art relevant technology and pedagogy with innovation. So on this basis, once again, I thank you, and I hope that we'll continue to participate, we'll be committed, so that at the end of the day, some of the skills and the knowledge which we have acquired, we'll be able to utilize them in our various institutions. Thank you, and see you again.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we will, I think it's appropriate to thank everyone for their participation, and thank you, Professor, and to just close, on that note, we will close the meeting here. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye. On Monday, I can see your face. On Monday, I can